Welcome back, guys, to day 23. And I have no idea why I say welcome back all the time. It's not like, I'm welcoming you back to something. Uh, you're probably watching day 22 and then you came to this day 23. Maybe on the next day, maybe like instantaneously after watching day 22. I don't know, but I just like saying welcome back. It's just more like cute-ish in a way. Without doing more harm to my manhood, let's get started on day 23. So in the previous video, we learned how to divide screen into two frames, the left frame and the right frame. And we learned about this playlist, and we learned about the widget known as the Listbox. And we added two buttons, add and delete, which are going to help us add songs to the playlist and delete song from the playlist. But before we get started with this video, I just want to add a couple more comments so that when you come back to this code, you actually remember what every piece of code does. So I'm just going to write that root window. It contains three main elements: the status bar, which spans the whole length of our widget or our Tkinter window, and then it contains the left frame and it contains the right frame. And then our left frame, it contains the Listbox, or you can also call it the playlist. And our right frame, it contains let's not add space over here. The right frame contains the top frame, the middle frame, and the bottom frame. And then you will remember what these top frames, middle frame, and bottom frames contained. So I won't comment about that. It's frame. Jesus, misspelling it all the time, huh? Let's call it top frame and bottom frame. All right, so this looks good. Now the other thing that I want to do is maybe change the name of these buttons. So I'm just gonna call this add button. And let me just copy and paste this over here. And then over here also, I'm just gonna call it delete button instead of add button. I'm gonna paste this over here. And instead of LB1, I'm just gonna call it maybe playlist box. Yeah, that sounds like a decent name. And I'm just gonna paste it. Actually, I'm not gonna paste it because we are going to be in this video, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be adding songs inside a playlist using our code. So the first thing that if you see this, if you see a music player, the first thing that I want to do is when we click on this add button, the open browser, that this browse dialog opens up, and then we can select a file. So to add some items to this playlist, I want to do the same thing with this add button. That is going to be very easy because we have already created the function. If we go down, if we go up, it's not actually down, somewhere over here, we have already created this function, and it's called browse file, which helps us select file names and basically different files which you want to play. So what we are gonna do is we are just gonna, for right now, we are not gonna touch this. We are not gonna touch our list box. But what we are gonna do is we are gonna go to the add button, and over here we are gonna add a command. And in the command, we are going to open up this browse file, and inside this browse file, I'm just going to cut from over here, and inside this browse file, I'm just going to call another function. Let's call this function add to playlist, because that is what we are going to be doing inside this function. And then let's create this function add underscore to playlist. And inside this function, we are going to copy and paste this playlist box. And then instead of adding it like this, what we are going to do is we are going to add it using the code. So we already have our file name that we want to add to our playlist. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to send this file name to this add to playlist function. And I'm going to catch this file name by writing this variable called f. And then I'm going to get just the file name, because inside our playlist we don't want the whole path. We just want, actually let me just show it to you instead of just doing all of this at the same time. And then we are just going to write index, because we want to start at the index of 0. And how we insert items inside our playlist, we just write playlist box dot insert, and we first write the index which we have declared as 0, and then we write the file name that we want to add. So I'm just going to write file name, and over here it's just F, so we don't need to worry about that. And we can then just, you know, we can just pack it up. So we're just gonna write playlist dot pack. Yeah, this should be good enough. So let's actually execute our main.py file and see if it works or not. So I'm just gonna reload this thing. Let's reload it. And our list box is actually not here right now. So what are we doing wrong? So what we are doing wrong is, unless we press the plus button or this button, our playlist is not going to show up, which we want to, but we want it to show up, right? We don't want it to show up after we click on the add button, which is stupid. So instead of declaring it inside this add to playlist, we are going to copy and paste this playlist maybe outside. So maybe just over here somewhere, playlist, and we can just pack it over here, playlist.pack, and then we can get the variable playlist pack somewhere over here. And yeah, we don't need to do anything else because we'll be able to handle playlist box inside this function. So let's actually call this file now, and now our playlist appearing, but it's empty right now. So let's click on add, and then we'll just select maybe journey.wave. So now you can see there is this file, but all of the path is inside this playlist, but we just want the file name. We don't want all the whole path. So we are just gonna do the typical thing that we always do. Instead of this whole path, we are gonna write f equals to os dot. Actually, let me just check what we used to use because I don't remember. I did a long time back. So let's see, where is our let me just search for it. Maybe base. Yeah, here it is. So we can just copy it from over here, go to the top, browse file, and over here we can just write, instead of file name, we'll just put an F because this contains the whole path, and then F can be added to our playlist box. So let's reload it. Let's click on add. Let's go to icfire.mp3. Now you can see that there is this icfire, and now when we add a file again, we'll have to increase the index because right now we are not increasing the index. So every time the file gets added, is going to be at the index of 0, and that is going to mess up our when we want to play the file, is going to mess it up. So what we are going to do is we are just going to write index plus equals to 1. So every time we add a file, the index increases by 1. So let's reload it, and let's go to file. Now instead of file, we'll go to add. We'll click on icfire. So this file has been added. Now again we'll click on add, and now we'll click on journey.wave, and as you can see, this journey.wave file has been added. But when we click on play, it's not gonna play, so I'm not gonna play it. It's going to throw you an error. Let's actually try it out, see what happens. Journey.wave, because we have just loaded it. So let's see icfire. So as you can see, there are some problems when we are playing the music. So yeah, we'll tackle all those problems. Don't worry about those problems right now. Just see how I have added all of these files inside the playlist. Let me do a quick recap of what we did in this video related to the playlist. So what the first thing I did was we added this command inside our add button. We called it browse file function, and then inside this browse file function, what we did was we called this function which is called add to playlist, and then we passed the file name inside this playlist with this variable f, but we don't want the whole path. That is why we use this os.path.base name, which is going to strip everything else off except the file name, real file name, and then we put an index 0, and then we inserted inside our list box using this insert function the index and the file name, and then inside this instead of pack, we don't need pack. I don't know why I have even put it there. Let's reload it and see if it works. All right, it's working. And then we are increasing the index by 1. So when we add the second song, it's actually index equals to 1 instead of index equals to 0, and we can use we can add the songs inside a list box properly. So guys, I think this is pretty much it for day 23. In the next video, we are actually going to learn how to play the music inside a playlist without any problems. So yeah, I'll see you on day 24. Peace out.